Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Jerry and I'm hailing you from the Ontario shipyard. And today we're going to be taking a re-review look at the U.S.S. Enterprise A, the Classic Movies OP Grand Prize ship. For those of you who are not familiar with organized play events, the Classic Movies were a series of 3 events based off of the Wrath of Khan, the Search for Spock, and the Voyage Home, culminating with a grand prize ship based on how well you did in all 3 of those OPs, with the grand prize ship being the Enterprise A from uh, pretty much the end of the Voyage Home. So, without further ado, I do want to get into the cards. So, we are looking at the U.S.S. Enterprise A. And she is a Constitution class refit, 3144, tech weapon, triple crew, 24 points. She's got a standard Federation action bar, and her ability is a good ability that I really liked. And I did get this ship when I bought a collection off of someone, but this ability itself is something that I used often, especially against cloaking ships. When attacking, during the roll attack dice step, if there is a scan token beside your ship, gain +1 attack die, +2 if the defending ship is cloaked. So I definitely like the ability of the ship to attack cloaking ships. It definitely it plays into Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country when it's attacking Chang's bird of prey, that ship being cloaked. But going back all the way to Wave 0 with that Mr. Spock from the TOS version of the Enterprise, he likes to have scan tokens too. And granted, you can't have 2 effects off of 1 scan token. So with today's game, there is a lot of ways to reoccur a scan token or get multiples. My trick back in the day was using the beta Herosian and having it take up one of my crew slots so I could do my scan action, which allows me to place a scan token, and then Beta Herosian states that whenever you place a scan token, you place a second copy of that scan token. So then I would have that TOS Spock and the Enterprise A converting all of my attack dice with the Enterprise A adding attack dice. So it was really effective against those cloaking people I had in my meta back in our playgroup when we were still playing. So this is the original version of the generic ship card, 3143. So you lose a shield. You also lose the tech slot, and it comes in at 22 points. Still got the standard Fed action bar, but the biggest thing I want to point out here is that the card cost on this has been updated thanks to These Are the Voyages. The next card I'm going to show you is the generic version from that set, but what's important to note is that the cost overrides this cost. So the Constitution class refits are actually coming in at 18 points instead of 22. Now, if you use Utopia like I do, and how I maintain it, Utopia reflects this on all of the generic cards. So any generic ship cards that have been updated or hadn't updated to their recost or recosting to their values have been updated for you. So it's kind of one of those things that's kind of weird to maintain, but we try to do our best with Utopia. So we get James T. Kirk in this pack, coming in at a skill 9 captain, 1 elite talent slot, 6 points. So he's a very expensive captain. And it's no secret, and I've said it on my channel a lot of times, the more text there is on a card, the less I'm going to play it. Mainly because I don't want to take a lot of time reading the text. When I go into playing against people or playing in real life or on Tabletop Simulator, I like to know what my cards do without me having to reread them. So Kirk is kind of in that family of too much text. So speaking of text, let's get to it. Action. Place a battle station token beside your ship. When attacking this round, during the modify attack dice step, you may spin this token to reroll up to 2 of your attack dice, Or, when defending this round, during the modified defense dice step, you may spend this token to reroll up to 2 of your defense dice. You may still perform the battle station action as a free action this round, if possible. So, this is kind of back in the early days when placing a token really hadn't been defined yet. Today, we know that placing a token, that text and verbiage is different than doing the action. So, anytime you place a token, you're still able to do the action. I think if the card were to be rerun or redone today, I think the wording would be fixed and corrected so that it's much less. Because I think you've got two abilities here. You've got the win attacking ability, and then the win or the modify attack dice step ability, and then the modify defense dice step ability, which can be easily fixed with a black bar to separate the two. I think the only bad thing about this card is that it's an action. So you're going to be eating up your action to place the Battle Stations token, which effectively you're doing a Battle Stations token with extra. But then you may still perform Battle Station action as a free action. So, I don't know. For 6 points, it seems like a lot. The text does a lot. I don't hate the card. I think there's a better way to do it and say it. So the next card in the pack is a weapon. It is Torpedo Upgrade. So you get to add a weapon slot or upgrade to your upgrade bar. This upgrade must be filled with a Photon Torpedo upgrade. When placing time tokens, one of your Photon Torpedo upgrades, if there are no time tokens on this card, you may place them on this card instead at a cost of 2. So this is another card that you would likely see in some clown car builds. I used it a lot, especially when I was just adding cards upon cards. What I like to do is you add Torpedo Bay, and then you get somebody like Sakona who gives you another weapon slot, or you have you're working with a ship that's got 2 native weapon slots. You put Torpedo Bay on, and then 2 copies of those new Federation Photon torpedoes from, well, multiple sets, but they started in the 2017 core set. The ones that take time tokens. Oh, I'm sorry. Those are the disabled ones. We used to put the Ferengi Photon torpedoes on, the ones that have time tokens. There is now a version of the Federation Photon torpedoes that uses time tokens, and I believe that came. What pack did that come in? That came in either to Boldly Go or Ships of the Line, where it is the Federation Photon torpedoes, where you convert all of your hits or all of your blanks into battle stations, or into hits. There is a version of that card, but I digress. What I'm trying to say is, if you have a ship that's got 2 native weapon slots, you can place Torpedo Bay in that first weapon slot, and it still gives you 2 more weapon slots to utilize. So you have the one that was not used that comes on the ship, and then the one that's given to you by Torpedo Bay. And then you can fill it with those 2 torpedoes, or 2 copies of that torpedo, that take the 2 time tokens. And then you can almost assembly line the time tokens. So at the end of the round, the time tokens come off Torpedo Bay and that Photon Torpedo, they're ready to go again. It's kind of an interesting. You don't really have to do it that way either. If you've got torpedoes that have 3 time tokens, you could do it that way. But there's a way to assembly line your Photon Torpedoes, so you can pretty much fire a Photon Torpedo every round. The first crew in this pack is Leonard McCoy. During the activation phase, after you move, you may discard this card to perform the card listed on your ship's action card as a free action. So definitely, McCoy plays into Captain Kirk from this pack a lot. There's a lot of thematicism to it. Coming in at 4 points, though, is a discard that allows you to do that text. I probably would have been okay with it being a 3-point card. I'm sure there's a lot of cards that you could probably compare this with, but the fact that it's a discard is my biggest concern at it being a 4-point card to lose. The first tech in this pack is Isolation Door. Discard this card to flip all of your critical damage assigned to your ship, and then repair 1 damage to your ship's hull. No ship may be equipped with more than one isolation door. So this card is very handy, especially if you get a critical damage card that is damaging to you. A lot of people instantly think, "Oh, this will help me with warp core breaches," and yes, that is the case. Personally, I'm not that scared of a warp core breach. I think when David Montgomery and I did the math on that, it was like a 1 in 8 chance that you were going to get it, and even then, by the time you roll for that 8th time, the game's already over because you're not going to get this. You're not going to get a warp core breach card in round 1. You're going to get it in like round 3, round 4 ish, after you've kind of sparred a couple times. You may get it in round 2 if you guys get that close, but 3 or 4 is kind of the sweet spot. And then adding 8 rounds on top of that, you're hardly ever going to get there to make a warp core breach go off. Not saying that it won't go off. That's just, we're talking about the laws of probability and all that. So a lot of people immediately think warp core breach when they see this card. I go with more of a stunned helmsman type card. To me, stunned helmsman, where you don't roll any attack dice the next time you attack, is worse than having a warp core breach. But isolation door allows you to get rid of that, allows you to flip it over so you don't have to deal with that anymore. And then you get to repair damage to your hull. So you get to pick one of those cards and plop it and throw it back into the deck. So kind of nice. Isolation door at 3 points. Really like it. I'm okay with this one. This is probably the one exception of it being okay to have an action discard. I am good with that in this case. And then the last card in the pack is the last crew member, which is Valeris. After your ship executes a green maneuver, you may perform a evade action as a free action. And notice she is a Federation card here, or Federation faction, 3 points. I will state that she has been errated thanks to These Are the Voyages. So there's a newer copy of her card from These Are the Voyages that has her as a Federation Vulcan and kind of cleaned up the text here. But basically, after your ship performs a green maneuver, you get to do an evade action as a free action, which is really nice, especially if you've got a ship that's not highly defensible. And you're doing a lot of green maneuvers, especially when you guys are in close quarters combat and you don't want to go that far. She'd definitely help you out, getting you a little extra. So we have come to the conclusion that is all there is for this pack. There is no OP that goes with it. There is no mission, as it was a prize pack. So thank you all for sticking through the video here and hanging out. Of course, if you like this kind of content, subscribe. I've got new stuff coming. Drop a like on the video if you like this content. And until next time, I'll see you around the shipyard.